Hey everybody, always Dizzy here. I am back with round five from the 2022 Langley Open. Um, Before I begin, maybe I'll just show you a couple more things from my little trip. Um, I went back to that Japanese restaurant at least a couple more times. I quite liked it. As I mentioned previously, I had different dishes every time. So I'll just show some footage from that. I've got a picture from um, the board at one of right before my game started. Um, Nothing fancy there. And a picture from a park on the way to the tournament. And yeah, okay, so here we are with round five. Let's take a look at it. As a recap, the tournament wasn't going great. I mean, result wise, I was doing fine. You know, 2 out of 4. Oh, my hair. 2 out of 4 in an open section is not bad, I feel. But my my was my previous 2 rounds, I was it the previous 2 rounds? Yeah, the previous 2 rounds I had draws against low rated players, and that really hurts my rating. So it was kind of frustrating in that regard. Round five, my opponent was Zhang Kai, rated 1221. This is another player that I hadn't heard of before. Um, yeah, this was the third day, the morning of the third day. And yeah, okay, let's take a look. So I played e4. He played c5. And I actually don't get many Sicilians over the board, believe it or not. Like, I just don't. I see them online all the time, but over the board, I tend to face a lot of e5s, and then kind of a mixture of other openings like Carol Khan and French and Petrov, but I don't get that many Sicilians. Anyways, I played knight f3, knight c6, d4. By the way, my opponent was yet another kid. Hard to guess the age. I'm going to say maybe 12, 11 or 12 years old. So not like a little tiny 7-year-old, but still pretty young. C takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6. So, you know, all basic theory. Knight c3, e5. I played knight db5, and we have d6, bishop g5, a6. So we're not quite Sveshnikov yet, but once b5 hits, it will be a Sveshnikov. Knight a3, b5. So here we are, 8 moves in with a Sveshi. All theory. Well, actually, I should take out my score sheet just so I've got the times on here. Yeah, all theory, and you know, I'm quite comfortable in this line, but it's still, you know, it makes you. I mean, the thing is, in a Swiss, you're always playing somebody who has equal score as you, or some cases there might be like half a point different. But I mean, I have to respect my opponent because he has the same score as I do, right? So, and he knows theory up to move 8, at least so far. Anyways, I played knight d5. This is still main line. Bishop e7. This is all book. Bishop takes. Bishop takes. c3. This is all book. We're move 11. Bishop g5. This is theory. Knight c2. This is book. Castles. This is all theory. a4. So move 13 so far. We're still in book. And my opponent is a young kid, and he knows his theory. Although I do think he slowed down here. This might be where he ran out of book here. Yeah, because before that, Yeah, he had only spent 1 minute on the clock, but after a4, he spent 3 minutes. So, but there are a number of different moves here for black. I believe there's, I think rook b8. I think you can even play bishop b7. There's actually a few moves for black. There's a lot. This is kind of where stuff kind of branches out. But he took. Oh God, this game. I'm remembering it now. Okay. Yeah, I took back. This is all theory. Move 14, and he played bishop e6. So, like, the Sveshnikov is one of those openings that I know fairly well, and in some lines I know it for like another 8 moves or 10 moves maybe. I know it pretty deep in a lot of different lines, and I know the ideas quite well. Unfortunately, here I made a mistake, and I'm my own worst enemy because I tried to get too fancy here. The problem is not too long ago, maybe a month ago, or actually at the time of the game, it might have been like 3 weeks prior. I actually changed. I made a change to a very frequently played move from black. And the problem is I mixed up that line with this position, and the line I mixed it up with is very, very, very similar looking to this. And the thing is that repertoire change I made is so minor. It's like a 20 cent pawn improvement. And so I thought here for a while on move 15. Yeah, I thought for 6 minutes, just trying to make sure that I was remembering my repertoire correctly. And I mean, the first thing that should stand out to you is that a6 is hanging, right? Because black moved his bishop. I mean, up to now, this is all kind of perfectly played. This is all theory. And indeed, the best move is to just grab the pawn. You know, you take it with the rook, take it with the bishop. I think bishop is slightly better. But I didn't take the pawn, and I did that on purpose because I had mixed up my lines. What I played in the game was knight cb4. And I knew that I could take the pawn, but I played this because what I had remembered incorrectly was that if we play knight cb4, which, by the way, is the right move in the other line, but not this line, that the idea is that we can always take the a pawn later in that line, not this line. And so there's no rush to do it. And it's just slightly more accurate to play knight cb4 because we can always grab the a pawn later, and this is just a little bit more efficient or accurate. But what I had mistaked the line with is, let me try to remember. I think it was after here. Instead of if black doesn't castle, and so that's why it's kind of an obscure line that I mixed this with. If bishop e6 first, and then a4, and then takes here, I believe knight cb4 is best. So it's when black hasn't castled and he takes on a4. This is something I built with the computer into my repertoire. Then we go knight cb4 because we can pile up on both the a pawns later. So, you know, if black takes our knight, for example, our queen is hitting a4, so is our rook, and our bishop is hitting a6. And his bishop is gone. So like if he castles now, I think we can just take on a4, and if a5, then what? Then probably queen a1? No, that can't be right. I guess, well, I'm looking at the computer now. It says h4 or bishop c4. But eventually, so what? He makes a passing move. Let's say he goes rook e8, maybe. Well, that's not the best example. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but what's a better move for him? It's hard to find a move for black. Let's just say g6, kind of just a random move. Yeah, well, the computer isn't. So I don't. I'm still kind of fleshing out this idea. I guess I don't quite. Maybe we don't grab the a pawn right away, but it's about +2 for white here. And I'm not sure. Maybe I didn't even play that correctly. Sorry. So if yeah, the best move for black here is actually knight takes b4. But even if he takes this way, what did I do? I took with the knight last time. Yeah. So we take with the knight, and what did I give him? I let him castle. Yeah, I don't know. This is +2 for some reason. I'm trying to identify the difference of what happened of the game position. Anyways, yeah, and if he takes with the knight here instead, then we can go queen takes a4, which is the only move for white, the only move that's good. And then black has to play king f8, or I guess queen d7 can also be played. And then it gets really sharp, like bishop b5. But the reason I built this into my opening is because if I'm prepared for this, it's a lot for black to calculate, because this is if black plays this line, let me just close the engine here. If black plays this line, this is very surprising to black. Like black probably won't know about this computer move knight cb4, and he'll have to calculate a lot. And in the ongoing lines for the next like 4 or 5 moves, it's going to be confusing for black. There's a lot of stuff that black has to calculate and account for. So that's why I changed in this line, instead of taking on a4 right away, I changed it to knight cb4. And I forget what the engine difference is between those two moves. I'm just putting it on the engine again right now. Yeah, it's not much. They're very close to equal, but this is like the more complicated move. I'd have to open up my repertoire to see the difference. Anyways, I know I got really off topic there. Well, it's not off topic, but I really sidelined. So, but yeah, that's where I got confused. It's if black plays bishop e6 right away. But in the game, that's not what happened. In the game, he castled first, which is the main theory. And then this is why I got confused. I played knight cb4 right away. But the difference is that he hasn't castled, and there's no pawn on a4. So I wonder, maybe I should not even have... I'm still wondering, maybe I should remove that knight cb4 from my repertoire entirely. I'll have to go back and see the difference. If it's like... Yeah, if it's only like 20 center pawns, maybe I just remove it, because I can get confused. But if it's 30 center pawns or greater, I might keep it. Okay, sorry about that. That was very sidetracked. So he took my knight, and at this point, I still thought I was remembering correctly. So I quickly took back, which is the best move, I think. Oh, no, actually, no, it's not. I actually think c takes b4 was a little bit more accurate. But of course, I'm going to take with the knight, because that's what I thought my plan was. He played a5, and then this is where I realized, wait, did I screw up? And this is, yeah, so move 16. So I thought move 17. Yeah, I thought for 15 minutes, which is a long time. 15 minutes on this. And I was just trying to remember, like, what is the whole point of knight cb4, and how do I win back the pawn? And I couldn't figure it out. And I calculated a lot of lines, and then I finally came to terms that I probably just remembered this whole line wrong. So, the first thing I'm looking at it was knight c6. But then, like, first of all, there's queen c6, and I can't take on d6 because I think simply rook d8 is a problem, and my knight is hanging if I move the queen. Um, and it gets a little bit complicated. If I take here and then he takes on b2 and I can take his bishop, I think, but then there's check here and then my king is exposed. Like I forget, but there was a lot. It didn't look good for me. And same thing if I go knight c6, queen c7. How do I get back the pawn? Right? Like how did that help me if I then go queen a1? Well, my knight's hanging. I can't do that. Sorry, did not mean to do that. Yeah, so nothing here really seemed to win back the pawn. And I was very frustrated with myself because I could have just been up a pawn. So that was very, very frustrating. After 15 minutes though, I played, after 15 minutes I played knight d5, which is the best move in the position, but it's equal. I mean, I'm not down a pawn, but I could have been up a pawn. He played rook b8, and I played the best move here, which was not easy to find, and I wasn't 100% sure about it. I was strongly considering b4, but it's a good thing I didn't play it because apparently queen c8 just wins on the spot. I think it's just difficult to defend c3. But I think this is like plus or like -3 or something for black, something crazy. So I played the best move, which was b3. And my opponent played queen d7. Yeah, which was a strange move because it just drops a5. So I was quite suspicious about that move when he played it. I think it was just a straight up blunder. I mean, it is. But yeah, I was really wondering why he played queen d7. But I took the pawn because I couldn't see why we couldn't. He played rook fc8, which is a very natural move. But yeah, it was a very natural move, but it's actually a mistake. Not for obvious reasons. And I didn't find the way to punish it. Here I played c4, which I know I'm kind of killing my bishop a little bit, but at the same time, I'm up a pawn here, and I have a passed b pawn, and my knight is very strong. And, I figure I can just go bishop d3, castle, and push my pawns eventually. But yes, there's actually a much better move here that really is preferable. And you can try to pause the video. You can pause the video and try to find it if you like. Yeah, so the move is bishop c4. Basically, we get to develop our bishop and we defend the c3 pawn. And we also defend the b3 pawn, but the real important thing is that we're actually defending d5. That's actually the real issue because I'm just reading my notes here. Because there's actually a threat from black of him trading on d5. So when I played c4, I forget if you could do it now. Oh no, it wants to first kick off. Yeah, so it wants to first kick off. I forget how to do it if he wants. Maybe does it with the bishop, but it wants to kick off my rook from from the 5th rank. So let's just make those moves. Sorry. So I have to move the rook somewhere, and then it wants to take on d5, and this is supposed to be good for black. I think this was why. Even though it looks good for white, I think this was. I'm going to turn on the engine now to remind myself. Yeah, this is like -1.5 for black. After pretty much any move, it's saying rook a8 or queen b7. And again, it's weird because it still looks pretty good for white, but if we do this, there's bishop a5 apparently. Our king hasn't castled, and this is just good for black. So I'll turn off the engine here. So apparently, I mean, it's not a simple thing to see, at least not for me. But that's why bishop c4 was good, or best here, is to defend d5, so that black can't trade on it. I guess technically he could still trade on it. If he can't do it right away, because I'll take with the rook, and I guess if he tries bishop d8 now, and I bring back the rook, I don't have the engine on, so I'm using my brain here. And if he trades now, then what? We take with the queen probably? Yeah, I'm going to take a sneak peek. I'm guessing we take it with the queen. And that's the difference. Let's see. What does the engine say? Yeah. So now we take it with the queen. F7 is weak, and we've defended our pawns, and actually, yeah, that's a problem for black. So still, yeah, not an obvious thing. Okay, let's not get too sidetracked. Sorry about that. But anyways, that's why bishop c4 was the best move. But I'm not the engine, so I played c4. Here he played queen b7. The computer still prefers bishop d8. Well, yeah, because we just went over that. But yeah, so bishop b8 still would have been better. But this was okay. I played rook b5. Queen a7. Rook takes, bishop d3. And just to give some context of how much time was left, we both used a bit of time. So I was down to 41 minutes. My opponent had an hour and 1 minute left. He took now on d5. I took with the e-pawn. Now, this was a tough choice. I did think here for a little while. Let's see, move 24. Okay, well, wait, is that right? Yeah, well, okay, 2 minutes. But I didn't have too much time. So, yeah, but how would you guys take? Would you take this way or take with the c-pawn? I mean, I did give it strong consideration. I was thinking if we take with the c-pawn, the benefit of this, I felt, is that f5 doesn't hit as hard, I think. Like he can't just storm us on the king side. But at the sake of weakening the c-pawn, and the reason I ultimately took with the e-pawn is because I thought, well, now in an endgame, these 3 pawns, they can roll. And I thought that was good. But apparently this is a mistake. The computer wanted me to take with the c-pawn. The problem is, for something I didn't consider, the problem here is after e takes, there's e4, which is, yeah, it's definitely something I did not consider at all. If bishop takes, there's rook e8, right? And if I move the bishop, I think there's e3, which is crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but it's just like, I just totally did not see this. What if I castle here? Yeah, can I not castle? No, because then there's bishop e3. Oh man, yeah. So that was totally overlooked. That it's just that's not the type of thing I look at. Like, not just in this particular game, just in general. I'm gonna, like, at my current strength, I'm not considering well, I mean, maybe if I had more time or something, but I'm just not considering e4 as a move, and I totally should. So fortunately, my opponent didn't see that either. He played queen a5 check. I played king f1. He played rook a b8. I played g3. Queen a1. And this was another tough decision for me that I thought on. Let's see how long I thought on here. Okay, just wait, that can't be right. Oh yeah. Okay, just 2 minutes. It seemed like it seemed like longer, but yeah. So it was a tough choice between King G2 and Queen takes A1. The reason, so I ended up taking on A1. The reason I didn't go King G2 is I got a little bit nervous of Black getting an active queen with Queen D4. And so, now, I mean, then, that's just a little scary looking for me. His queen is very active. My bishop could run into trouble because it's not that fluid. It doesn't have a whole lot of squares. It's a little bit trapped. It's a kind of a bad bishop. And yeah, that just made me a little bit nervous. And since I am up a pawn, I decided to just trade and maybe try to get these running. I forget what the computer. I think the computer actually preferred this, but it wasn't by a large margin. So this was okay, I think. He took back King G2. He traded the rooks, King F8, and I played B4. So at this point, I'm down to 32 minutes. My opponent has 1 hour. He played King E7, which was a mistake. I forget why. I don't even know if I looked why. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so he plays King E7, and here we have like Fischer Spassky, right? So I thought, oh yeah, so this is crazy. I had 32 minutes on this move. After King E7, I had 32 minutes. And I thought for exactly half of my remaining time, I was down to 16 minutes after my next move. Yeah, I felt this was a super critical point. So I was strongly, so first of all, I thought that this was probably a draw. I thought this was probably a draw, but I just finished drawing 2 low-rated kids. I didn't want a third draw in a row. And so I thought okay, hang on, man. This is critical. I might have a win here. I would have to really, bunker down. So like ideally, or maybe not ideally, but I wanted to play C5. The problem with C5, I think, was Bishop D2. Hitting B4, and then it just doesn't work. So here let's talk about this too. There's B5, but B5 it just doesn't really get me anywhere because I can't support C5, right? Like I could push this, but I'm not going to be able to run that by itself. I need the support of the C pawn. So this was the only real move I wanted to play, but Bishop D2 just didn't seem to make that work. So here I was very strongly considering sacking a pawn with F4. And that was really painful to calculate because I was so unsure about it. And I actually lose 2 pawns, I think. Because if takes, I would then have to make my move with C5. And I forget what I calculated after that. It was a headache. I think I calculated DC, BC, and then he takes again on G3, and then I have a bishop and these 2 passed pawns. And I thought that was very close to winning, but I wasn't quite sure. And I ended up not going with that. I was so close to pulling the trigger, though. It turns out that is just equal, I think. Or I forget if it's equal or losing. Let's turn on the engine. But it wasn't winning. I know that. So F4. Yeah, this is equal with perfect play. Maybe not even perfect play. Yeah, I'm just looking at it with the engine. Yeah, this is just equal. But yeah, so I was unsure. And I didn't, but the thing is it's too risky for me to play that because I could be losing. So I ended up playing King G2, just bringing in the king, and then I thought, okay, maybe if I bring in I was thinking maybe if I bring in the king, maybe then I could still play f4 later, and then maybe since my king is closer, that might be enough to make my idea work. I can always play f4 later. Now this was a blunder. For the reason, is that the only reason? Let me see. Yeah, so the reason this is blunder is that it's a missed opportunity. I think I'm still equal here, but apparently I can actually take on h7, which in hindsight makes total sense. So I believe the idea here is, okay, instead of king g2, is if he tries to trap us, the problem for black is that his king can't, because the king can't keep our bishop boxed in while also stopping our other pawn. So, excuse me. So for example, here, I think I could just run. I think I can run the B pawn. And if his bishop comes in, he's not going to be there. No, he will be there in time. So hang on. No, wait. Yeah, he'll be there in time, right? So how does this work then? Was it C5? Let me turn on the engine so I don't waste all your guys' time. So yeah, so if he blocks us here, yeah, it is B5, and if the bishop comes down to D2, yeah, so B6, and then B7. Oh, and, okay, yeah, right. So the thing is, black still can't do anything though, because if he brings his king, first of all, his king can't really help. I mean, okay, if he brings the king, oh, sorry, it's my turn. So if I can just start bringing in my king, and if he starts to go this way, I can bring in my bishop, and then I can start grabbing his pawns. His king can't leave without these pawns falling. And if he tries to like move these pawns, I can just free my bishop at the very least. So yeah, basically his king can't go after this pawn and defend his own pawns. And sorry, and here if he tries to go this way, okay, and this actually does get a bit complicated. I didn't actually look at this specific line, but we can sack the bishop apparently, and then apparently we're fast enough. Now, this is kind of interesting. I didn't look at this. I guess it says king e4. Can we not go this way? Yeah, we can go this way too. Let's just say he goes. Oh wait, I can't do that. Yeah, so he's gonna have to spend so much time going after this pawn. He's gonna basically have to bring this bishop back, and by the time he gets there, I'm gonna have so many pawns for him to deal with. Yeah, so there's actually a lot there. It's actually pretty complicated. There's actually a lot to calculate, but the idea of it makes sense. So just go back. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot to calculate there, but yeah, we can take on h7. We can take on h7, and if he tries to block us, we run this pawn. Now, the problem is if we bring the king over, we just bring the bishop out, and if he starts pushing his pawns, well, at the very least, we're going to get g6, which is another free pawn for us. And even like regardless, our bishop is free. I mean, so you can just end it there because it is opposite colored bishops, but you know we're up 2 pawns and we have passed pawn. So yeah, so him bringing in the bishop would be the best defense, but then I just keep rolling. And then this would have been a hard decision to make if I had thought about this, because it's possible I would abandon this idea here because it looks like my bishop might fall. Well, it does fall. So this would take a lot of willpower to decide to continue going with this line. Oh no, I think we just take right away, and then you bring in the king. So this is where you would really have to understand that black has to make a million moves to stop the B pawn. Meanwhile, our king gets super active. here, but you can just do something like this. And by the time his bishop comes in, well, I might be going, I might have went a little bit too, I think I might have screwed up already. Yeah. Let's see. Turning on the engine just to make sure. Yeah, so we can take, and yeah, but here, yeah, we don't push h4. We protect f3 right away, so, or f2 right away. So the only move here is f3. So there's still a lot of calculation here. This is not simple. And that's like 15 moves ahead. So anyways, I digress. First time I've used that phrase. Okay. So long story short, I played king g2. Just want to keep remind that my opponent is rated 1200. Like, chess is hard. Okay, so he played g6. I played king f3. He played f5. I played king e2. Time-wise, I'm down to 15 minutes, which is plenty of time. He has an hour and 1 minute. King d7. c5. Bishop e7. c6 check. King c7. King d2. King b6. King e3. Bishop d8, and then I played f3. So this is, so I'm down to 7 minutes now. He has 56 minutes. Bishop g5 check, f4, e takes f4 check, g takes f4, and bishop f6, and we agreed to a draw here. Opposite colored bishops, and yeah, nothing's going to happen. So my third draw in a row against kids. This game was kind of interesting. I thought it was more interesting than... I forget what the last game was already. But it was kind of an interesting game. The main thing is I kind of messed up in the opening, which is frustrating, where I could have had that free pawn. But then after that, I mean, I played quite well. I mean, the first... Yeah, like the first 16 moves or something were all theory. And then apart from that one mistake I made, I played, I think, perfectly. Oh, except for here. So here I missed e4 idea. And here I missed bishop h7, but as you saw, that's a lot to calculate. So I don't regret not seeing it because it's not that simple. It is a bit risky, but obviously, yeah, I did miss that opportunity. And then this is just equal here. This is just a draw here. So I made that one mistake out of the opening. I missed e4. I guess you could call that a mistake. And then I missed bishop h7. But apart from the opening mistake, like these are not big things, and I have to play like near perfect to beat a 1200, it seems. So that was round 5. Frustrating. I was almost thinking about withdrawing from the tournament early, because even if I win my last game, I'm going to lose points, a lot of points, just from drawing all these kids that are rated 1,000. Yeah, 3 draws in a row. At the same time, result-wise, it's not that bad. After this, I was 2.5 out of 5, so scoring 50% in an open, which is not that bad. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'll have the final round in a couple of days from now. Thanks for watching.